Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020, and today we'll be talking about the fact that in a 20-point margin, Americans want the winner of the November general election to pick Ruth Bader Ginsburg's replacement. This is super substantial. The Republican Party has been putting forth, the possibility of selecting and confirming a Supreme Court nomination in numbers that we have never seen in American history. The fastest nomination, then confirmation, was 50 days, and it was not in a presidential election year. For a presidential election year, anything that even comes close in terms of the nomination process was 100 days out, and that nomination was confirmed with a new replacement. But looking at how close we are to the general election, 47 Republicans have said that they will vote they intend to hold a vote on the Supreme Court nominee. And a number of Republicans, including some notable ones in competitive races, we're looking at Tom Tillis in this situation, have said that they will be voting for President Trump's nominee. Even though it has not been announced, they've already secured their vote for President Trump. So pretty much, the GOP sees this as a play to get conservatives on the Supreme Court. And granted, this is politics at its finest and also at its worst. We're seeing the Republican Party flip-flop from where they stood 4 years ago. And granted, the Democratic Party 4 years ago did want to confirm Merrick Garland. But at the same time, Justice Scalia passed away 11 months before the election, not 1 month. And the thing about that also, when we're looking at who President Trump and Obama nominated, Merrick Garland versus likely Amy Barrett, we also saw a very big difference in ideology because Merrick Garland was much closer to the center. Amy Barrett is pretty far to the right. And if we're looking at the possibility of a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court, that opens up possibilities of the Democratic Party court packing. Now, the American people likely won't approve of court packing, but it seems as if they don't approve of President Trump replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg before the election. 56% of voters say that whoever wins the election should be responsible for nominating a replacement, the same logic that the GOP used to block President Obama's nomination just 4 years ago. Now, 36% say President Trump should nominate a replacement immediately, prior to the election. That comes from 7% of Democrats, 31% of independents, and 74% of Republicans. Now, obviously, those who say that the new president or the incumbent president, if he was to win re-election, should nominate someone on the Supreme Court. That comes from 86% of Democrats, 45% of independents. So that's a 14-point margin over those who say President Trump should nominate one, as the independent group goes. And for the Republicans, 1 in 5 Republican voters say the nomination should be decided after the general election. So why is that so important? Well, if this issue does get ramped up by the Democratic Party, and it absolutely will be, we only have a number of days till we see the first ads roll out about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We're looking at an electoral map that normally would be pretty close in a presidential election year, right? Except Joe Biden is now up 7% nationwide. We're 42 days away from the general election, and Joe Biden's lead doesn't seem to be wavering too much. While it is at a lower point than where it was a month ago, 7 points, nothing to laugh at. The Biden campaign should be pretty confident in where they stand today. Donald Trump, if he does, do okay, he probably won't be winning the election anyways. An okay scenario for Donald Trump would just allow him to carry Florida, North Carolina, and Texas. He'd practically lose a number of other swing states that would put Biden near 290 electoral votes. And if we're talking about a possibility where Republican voters are upset that Donald Trump is able to put forth this nominee and get it passed, if the Senate comes across as too partisan, which it absolutely will, we're talking about 50 senators who opposed Merrick Garland 4 years ago, right? Or would have opposed had they been in that position, that are in full-fledged support of a Donald Trump nomination. And Merrick Garland was 11 months, Justice Scalia's passing was 11 months before the election. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's was a month and a half. Not even, a little bit under that. So when we're looking at the difference, this is not the same circumstance. And even if the Democratic Party wanted to pass, you wanted to get Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court back in 2016, that's very different than, Trump nominating someone right before the election. And it's just an entirely different circumstance. I really don't see the comparison. I get it. Yes, it was technically the nomination was in a presidential election year. But at the same time, we are seeing quick levels that are in an unprecedented nature. We have never seen a Supreme Court nominee get nominated and confirmed in less than 50 days in United States history. And they're doing it in a presidential election year. The Republican Party is going to alienate 20% of their base who says the new president should decide. And obviously that won't be breaking a lot of those Republican votes. But at the same time, if there's already those never Trump Republicans, those Mitt Romney, John McCain-esque Republicans who may be opposed to a Republican or a conservative ending up at the Supreme Court just because they think that it may not be able to check accurately because of a 6-3 majority, or they think that the Republican Party should abide by their word from 4 years ago, that's going to hurt the Republican Party in some of these key states. Because if 1 in 5 Republican voters say, I think that the new president or the reelected president should choose the nominee, that's pretty substantial. Only 7% of Democrats agree with Trump and say that he should replace the nominee prior to the election. This is a 20-point difference. This is going to be politicized, and the Democrats are going to come out on top. Because, yes, 4 years ago, they said confirm Merrick Garland, but the Republican Party stopped it. So, therefore, that set a precedent 4 years ago. The precedent was set by the Republican Party, and now they're breaking their own rules. And yes, when they say elections have consequences, first of all, I don't know why that term is used. Elections have consequences. That sounds like you said Trump is a negative consequence to the United States. But there is absolutely no reason that the Republican Party should be in full-fledged support of Donald Trump's nominee. They should at least be considering it. Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away not even a week ago. And there's already been 47 senators who said they will vote to replace her. Or there should be a vote to replace her, which in turn means that they will vote to replace her, including Mitt Romney. The only Republican opposition we've seen is Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, and only one of them is up for re-election. And it's clear. It seems to be clear that won't be enough to stop the Republican Party's vote to pass a Supreme Court nominee. We're not going to see Joe Manchin or John Tester cross over. That doesn't seem like a real possibility. In fact, Joe Manchin even addressed the issue of court packing and said he wouldn't oppose it at this time. It's way too early to tell. He's a conservative Democrat. If he's even considering court packing, you can almost bet the Democratic Party is going to do it. And they're going to do it by winning the Senate. If this Supreme Court nomination passes, what we see is that a lot of Democrats are going to be ramping up their efforts in statewide Senate races. We've seen new fundraising records. Since Friday, almost all of the Democratic Senate candidates have broken fundraising records. Jamie Harrison, even Joe Biden, $70 million in one day on Saturday. That's very substantial. The Democratic Party is raising money that they have not seen in decades. They are also bringing in a lot of energy from the 2018 midterm elections. Yes, you could say, 2010 went to the Republicans. Why didn't 2012? Well, on the generic ballot, it was a tie. In 2020, the Democrats are up 6-7% on the generic ballot. So this election is nowhere near 2012 or even 2016 when the Democrats only led by 1% on the generic ballot. Again, different election. The Democratic Party is doing much better. And I always say this. I've always liked to say that the election will inevitably narrow up. But we are 42 days away. 42 days away. And we're not seeing too many signs of narrowing. The swing state leads for Biden, stagnant, the same. Nothing's changed. Nothing fundamentally has changed about this election. And in fact, it may be one of the most static elections in history. Not one point in time has Trump led in the campaign season. Even in 2016, Donald Trump won. When Donald Trump won, he had led at some point in time. And everyone was saying, the polls were drastically wrong. Well, if they're wrong this time around, that'll be completely different than 2016. They would be so fundamentally wrong. But this time, we're seeing Donald Trump not even come close to Joe Biden, not only nationally, but in a number of swing states. Because Biden's currently up by very solid margins in Arizona, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And given the swing from 2016, the only state that Joe Biden should truly be worried about out of those four is Wisconsin. And even if it goes to Trump, Biden still wins the election. But I'm thinking, if the Democratic Party isn't able to block a Supreme Court nomination, that will not look negatively on the Democratic Party. It will look entirely negatively on the Republican Party, because even Republicans, 1 in 5, you round up 100 Republicans and you take 20 of them and they will say that I don't think that Trump should be replacing the nominee before November. While that may not take their vote away from them, think about the independents. Those 45% of independents and 24% who don't know, who very well could split even, if not lopsided, in favor of saying that Biden or Trump, if reelected, should nominate a new Supreme Court justice. That could help Biden's chances at winning the winning the presidency, and then the Democratic Party winning the Senate. So when we look at these Senate elections, when we talk about the senators that were in firm opposition to Merrick Garland, take David Perdue, for example. John Ossoff just released an ad just showing David Perdue's words. No text, no argument, really, just using the words against him. Just ran the words in an ad, and that was the ad. As for South Carolina, Jamie Harrison is likely to drop ad if he hasn't already, with Lindsey Graham saying, "Use my words against me." Well, the Democratic Party is going to do that. What we see in Kentucky is Mitch McConnell blocking Merrick Garland 4 years ago, now embracing the possibility of Amy Barrett being the Supreme Court nominee. So the Republican Party is going to have a little trouble flip-flopping from where they were 4 years ago. And while it may not be able to seal their re-election bids, it's going to make it a lot more difficult for them to have solid races. We've seen South Carolina evolve from being safe for the Republicans to likely to lean, and now to being, a super competitive race compared to the likes of North Carolina and Georgia and Maine. So looking at the Senate map, the Democratic Party is likely to enter in with a lot of energy if the Supreme Court seat for Ruth Bader Ginsburg is confirmed. If it's Amy Barrett, if she ends up on the Supreme Court, or literally any other nominee, the Democratic Party will come out in full force. And we're already seeing them bring new types of energy that we didn't think was possible. The Democratic Party decimated the Republicans in the House elections in 2018. Now they're entering into the Senate elections, poised to take the majority, poised to retain their majority in the House of Representatives, and win the White House. And this is only going to hurt Republicans if 1 in 5 of them don't even agree with where the Republican Party's direction is going nationwide. Less than a week has passed, and 47 Republicans have said, hold a vote. 47. After, 40 out of the 47 4 years ago saying, you can't hold a vote in a presidential election year. It's going to seem hypocritical, and that's up for the voters to decide in November. So we're going to see this have a very big impact on the election. The Supreme Court was already one of the top 10 issues, and it's probably been bumped up to top 2, top 3 for American voters nationwide. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2020 Senate election videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider joining as a member on my channel, and I will see you all tomorrow.